All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back once again, Mitchell Port Unleashed podcast, and I got a special treat for you. The man that is sitting remotely from me here is an author, and I'll tell you something about rocket fuel, man. I think we all need a little sprinkle of rocket fuel. You know what I mean? He's a CEO, People's Building Incorporated, co-founder of the Blueprinted, and a top 100 podcast of What Are You Made Of? My man, Mike C-Roc, rocket fuel himself. Mike, what's going on?
What's happening, Rory? Hey, thanks for having me, man. I always like to start every interview with gratitude, just to show my appreciation for you, first of all, for having me, and then also for your audience for showing up, man. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
No, definitely. I think one of the first things I'm going to say is your logo. You got one of the coolest logos I've seen, man. So I'm definitely going to support your brand and not only get the book, but I got to get some apparel, man. I like that.
Thank you, man. We have it all. Like, this is the C-Roc People Building logo. This is Rocket Fuel clothing line we started. Rocket Fuel Lifestyle, Unstoppable Clothing. And so, yeah, we got it all, dude. So just let me know and I'll hook you up.
All right, my man. We can definitely talk about that off air. So let's get right into it. You know, I feel like the biggest buzz conversation is about this past year, 2020, COVID, all this other good stuff. It's unfortunate, you know, a lot of life, death, sickness. What do you feel like a lot of people are taking for granted right now when it comes down to just understanding their main mission and why?
Yeah, they're basically underestimating their mind power, man. Like, I have been on a journey over the last couple of years. I know I've always known about positive attitude and all this, but I really, as I get older and experience more and do more studies and be a mentee to super successful people, I'm realizing the power of my mind and all of our minds. And I think we all take it for granted, man. We wake up in the morning and we just go about our day, and some better than others, some more intentional than others, but still we're not taking advantage of the power that we have. And I am now taking advantage of mine, and I'm teaching other people to do it. And if they don't believe me, Rory, I show them. I just go do it, and I'll say, okay, watch. You know, I used to say hold my beer, but now I say hold my protein shake. And then I go do it. And then that way I can prove it to them, the power of the mind. I'll tell them what I'm going to do. It's something that blows their mind at first, and then I go do it. And so, yeah, that's the answer to that question for me, man.
I like that. I like that message that you say there. You know, technology, and we're podcasters here. You know what I mean? And some of us are book writers and content creators and things like that. Would you say that technology is controlling us, or are we controlling it? What's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the starters and the founders of technology are controlling things. Mm-hmm. And then from there, the people, so to me, like, you know, my mentor, Grant Cardone, always talks about you're either an investor, a producer, or a consumer. And so you can be a combination of all three of them, or you can fall in one of the buckets. And a lot of people fall in the bucket of consumption, consuming. You know, for example, social media or apps or what have you, they're all busy consuming them. And that does not get you very far. You know, it gets you entertainment, it gets you distraction. It gets you, what do they call baseball? Pastime, the old pastime. It's a pastime thing. But at the end of the day, you want to be more of a producer and investor in technology rather than a consumer in technology.
Absolutely. Absolutely. How do you use or limit yourself from technology when the smoke clears and the dust settles and you're like sitting at home, it's family time, you just want to like escape? What are some key things that you do?
Well, I leave my phone in the bedroom or something. You know, if I'm in the bedroom, I leave it out on the counter in the kitchen or something. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, it's not just technology. I run everything through my core mission, which is that all people are unstoppable to living the life of their dreams. And so when I think about that, and I say all people on purpose, because I'm included in that, you're included in that. And so when I'm thinking about things to do or not do, say or not say, thoughts to have or not have, I try to run everything through that mission, and that includes technology and the use of technology. Is this serving my mission? If it's not serving me, it's limiting me, and I got to get rid of it. And so that's what I do, and it makes my life feel simple. You know, I talk about rocket fuel a lot, but I don't talk about rocket science because I don't need to get all complicated in things. So I keep it simple. It's either going towards or away, building, destroying, living or dying, and that's it. And it makes it easy. One decision. And so that's how I do it.
No, absolutely, absolutely. So you speak about rocket science. Is that going to be the next book that you're going to write? Rocket science?
Nah, man. I'm going to stay away from the complication. The complicated. I think the next book I'm going to write is about a word that I found. I used to talk about stubborn a lot, and stubborn has a negative connotation. But if you look up the definition of stubborn in Merriam-Webster dictionary, it talks about being perversely unyielding. And I love that, because if you're doing that on the right thing, you're going to be good. If it's on the wrong thing, it's bad. But then I started thinking, well, stubborn, a lot of people hear stubborn, it's a negative connotation. So I was reading a book, and I saw the word inexorable. INEXORABLE. If you're taking notes, anybody listening, you might want to write that down and take a look. Inexorable. And that word means unable to be stopped and unyielding. And I was like, that's my word now. My word is now inexorable. And I'm thinking about the title of the next book is going to be Inexorable.
I love that. That's a gem. I know when I go back and I listen to this, I'm going to have to write that down myself. You know what I mean? And things like that. Speak about your book, Rocket Fuel. Why did you choose such a simple but iconic title? Because I've seen all the ads over social media, seen it over Instagram and things like that. There we go. The product placement right there. Talk about that for me real quick, my man.
Yeah, so a couple of years ago, I just started thinking. I was in the mortgage business. I have a large division that I run. I built it from scratch with my partners. And we got up to 40 employees. But I started feeling like, this is my vehicle to build people. I'm building people as I go. When I wake up in the morning, I'm helping my team get better. And then I started thinking, man, I'm not playing on a big enough game. I need to start. I just feel like, when your shoe grows too big, your foot grows too big for your shoe, the shoe starts to feel a little tight and snug and you feel stuck. That's because you need a bigger shoe. Like I needed a bigger game. I was still feeling stuck. Then I started thinking to myself as I was getting older, I need to start sharing some of the lessons that I've been through, but nobody really cares about my story. Like, who cares about my story, man? Nobody wants to hear it, any of the bad stuff that happened. I was kind of embarrassed by my story and growing up poor, growing up in an abusive situation, broken household, drug addicts, alcoholics, suicide, But then I saw Pete Vargas speak on 10X GrowthCon stage one year. And I'm like, holy cow, this guy looks scared. He's sweating. He's up there telling a story about him and his father's relationship and how it transpired and how they got back together. And I was just like, wow, man, if he can do this, I can do this. And so I started thinking about sharing my story. So I tested it out and I started sharing my story with one person, two people. Felt very uncomfortable. Again, those thoughts ran through my head. Like, why do they care about this? And then I started seeing the reaction to them. And then I told 10 people. And then I'm like, well, shoot, if it works for 10, what about 10 million people? And then so I started thinking. So I started a podcast called What Are You Made Of? And I told my story on there for a few episodes. And I started bringing guests on to hear their ingredients that have gone into successful people. Because most of the time, you don't know what's going into the people that are successful. You just see the success, right?
Exactly.
From there, I was like, I had Grant Cardone on my podcast, and he's my mentor, and I was talking to him about going into outer space, like not literally, but figuratively, like getting away from all gravitational pull, negative suppressors. What will it take to finally get there? Like get away from like all that and not have to grind every day trying to sell $97 products and all that jazz. And he's like, you know what? Most people don't want to hear that answer. They're not ready for that discussion. And I was starting to think to myself, well, shoot, the only thing I know that gets things in outer space is rocket fuel. And so I started thinking about this. Let me tell my story. And call it rocket fuel because, and I'll get into the story in a second, but really what I found in my life, Rory, was that I was taking everything in my life that came my way that would stop a normal human being, slow a normal human being down. And I was storing it in my fuel tank instead of my trunk where most people store it, where it weighs them down. I was storing it in my fuel tank where I could convert it into rocket fuel and blast off and go way beyond anywhere that I was before. So that's what I did, and I wrote the book about that. I wrote the book, put some stories in there. I know Jesus told a lot of stories and parables to get his message out to people. So I took note of that, and I said, well, Jesus wrote stories to teach people. I'm going to put some stories in here to teach people lessons about how to become unstoppable.
Wow. Wow. This storytelling at its finest. And before I hit the record button, I said, I've listened to you on Clubhouse talk, and the same way you talk on the podcast is the same way you just unleash the gems, you know? One of the stories I heard you speak about on Clubhouse is you getting the forward for the book from your mentor.
Yeah.
You spoke about his name, Grant Cardone. You want to speak about how you went about doing that and what it meant for you?
Yeah. So when I started writing the book, because he had such a big impact on me, I started thinking to myself, like, okay, if I write a book, you got to have a forward, and how cool would it be to have Grant on the forward, right forward, and you can see his name's on the top of the book there too. So if somebody writes a forward, you can put their name on it. Well, that's going to help the book, obviously. And, I started thinking, I was like, okay, well, you know what? If I'm writing a book, first of all, it's going to be a bestseller. I don't even know what a bestseller means. I didn't even know there's different ones like Amazon, New York Times.
Yeah.
I just said, I'm going to be a bestseller. And I told my team when we started writing, I have an assistant, I have editors, I have a publisher, I have the guy that designed this cover, Pitch Freak, his name's Pitch Freak, Antonio White. All of them, all of our team, guys, everything that we do from this point forward is going towards the direction of being a bestseller, and Grant's going to write the forward for the book. Everything that we think, say, and do has to go towards that mission. And I didn't know how that was going to happen. If I started thinking how, I wouldn't have done it. Like, I would have probably got scared at that point. But because when I tell you the rest of the story, which you heard already, but your audience hasn't, if I would have heard the cost it took to get it done, I probably would have not even written the book. But I didn't know. And then once you commit and decide something and you commit, then you look at it and say, well, I'm committed. And by the way, when you say commit, a lot of people use the word commit. They ain't really committed. When you use the word commit, like if I was to look up the definition of commit right now, this is important to really get people to understand. Because the definition of commit is to carry out or perpetrate, okay, or pledge or bind to a certain course or policy. Pledge or bind. Bind means like you have to do it. Like there's no other option. So when some people say commitment and they don't follow through, they ain't really committed. They're just saying that, right? I was committed. Burn the ships, committed. So I get done writing the book. By the way, as I'm writing the book, pressure's on, man. I got to get it done, and it's got to be good. Because if it's not good, I can't feel good about putting Grant on the book. So from there, I got the book done, and I reached out to Jared Glant, the president, who I developed a relationship with, and I said, Jared, can I get a quote from you for the book? Because he's a buddy of mine, and I just looked up to him, and he said, sure, man. I said, well, what about Grant? Do you think he would write the forward? And by the way, man, before asking that, like, I didn't want to put a strain on him and I's relationship by putting it out there and then him not being able to perform it, and then that. But I was so committed, dude. I had no other option, so I had to say it. And then he goes, well, I don't know. He doesn't really do that, but, and if he did, he wouldn't do it just for anybody, and it wouldn't be free. I'm like, okay, well, find out, dude. Give me the details. Like, I don't want to hear all that stuff. I don't know if he knew this, but I committed, so I don't need to hear why he wouldn't do it. I need to hear the details to get him to do it. How? And so finally came back, and he's like, yeah, Grant said, let's roll. You stand up, live up to the 10X standard. You're, definitely something that, we like to show off. But it's not going to be free, and his time, he values his time. I said, oh, well, tell me how much. I'm like, he goes, $75,000. And I said, what? No, I didn't say this. I didn't say that to him, man. Like, I hung up the phone, and I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, this guy paid all this money to invest in his products and this and that. I went through this 5-minute rant and then like a little crybaby. And then I started to realize, wait a minute, I committed to this. So one, his time is valuable. He values his time, self-worth, pay to play, pay for access to people, show him you're committed, how committed you are, and think bigger. And then I'm like, well, what if I could do it? And how would I get the money? Because I don't want to use my own money for this. So I started thinking. And then I said to my wife, and then I got these juices flowing, man. They're like adrenaline's flowing. I'm like, yeah, man, this is cool. Like, this is even just to think about this. It's like winning the lottery kind of thing. Different thing. But so I said to my wife, I said, what do you think about this? And I told her the scenario, and she goes, well, sounds like you've already made your mind up. Because I've been married 18 years, so my wife knows me pretty well. I went to the publisher, Carolyn. I said, Carolyn, here's the deal. I've never heard of this. I never did a forward. I never wrote a book before. Like, have you ever heard of this kind of situation? Here's the situation. She goes, you've made your mind up, haven't you? She said, just do it. My wife said too, just do it. So now I got to figure out where the money's coming from. And I didn't want to use my money. So, I want to use some of it, but I don't want to use 75 grand. So I have 3 partners that are best friends of mine since I was little in the mortgage business. We do everything together, and they're running the day-to-day operation of the business. And I went to them individually, one by one, and said, hey, here's the deal. Told them the scenario. I said, I'm going to do this with or without you. But if you do this with me, it shows me your commitment to me, and anything that we get from me going out and doing all the stuff I'm doing, we're going to all share in it. And each one of them said, let's roll. We got your back. And I texted Jared before I did all that and just said, hey, man, I might be crazy enough to just do this. And so I texted him and I said, hey, man, let's roll. Send me wiring instructions. And so I wired the money. And as soon as the money's gone, it's gone. Like, it is what it is. Figure out how to go get more money now.
Exactly.
And then we did that. And then, within a month, Grant was on the set of Undercover Billionaire. When he came back from that, he wrote the forward, sent it over to me. And I read it. It gave me chills, man, because I came up with this concept. And it's, the way he describes it and how he's used it in his life and his business, dude, it's just phenomenal. And,
Jesus.
Yeah, so now it's a bestseller, and he did the right thing too, because his name's on the book and it's being seen everywhere right now.
I love that. I love that, and I heard that story and I was getting chills. And right now, the room I'm sitting in, I'm still getting chills, you know what I mean? Because it shows that when you invest into yourself, good things happen. You invest the right way, you know what I mean? And I feel like you're humble from your beginnings. You talked about your story. You never really wanted to share your story, but now you're here, you know what I mean? To even tell more stories and things like that. What would you say is your favorite part of the book? What chapter, what insert, what stands out for you?
I think the favorite part is the story. Where my fire got lit in the first place was when, I came from a broken home, and I don't remember my parents together. And I moved in with my dad when I was 8 because my mom was moving into her 3rd marriage. And I didn't really want to move into another man's house, learn another man's rules as a kid, So I decided to try my dad's out, and he was getting married for his second time, my stepmom. And I said, let me try this out. So I broke my mom's heart. I moved in with my dad. She didn't fight it. And when I did that, it started off good. But then, there was some conflict going on. My parents were fighting. My stepmom was fighting. My dad and stepmom were always fighting. And it came down on the kids. When parents don't act like adults, the kids, get the brunt of it. So a lot of the things that were happening, and when my stepmom had problems with my mom, it would come down on me. And I dealt with abuse. I dealt with threats. I used to sleep with a baseball bat when I was 9.
Wow.
Because I was, just wasn't secure. And from the things I was hearing, I thought something would happen. And so, I decided at one point, after living in a couple of years with feeling like it was normal and you're supposed to go through this, I realized it wasn't. And I shared the information with my mom. And, when you're going through abuse, one, you deny it yourself because you can't believe you would put yourself through that. You're first of all, letting it happen in the first place. And second of all, letting it continue. You're embarrassed. And also, this is a crazy one, but a lot of times when you're abused, you're worried about the abuser and what would happen to them.
Absolutely.
If you say something. So I eventually told my mom. She filed court papers to get me out of there. And my dad finally got served after weeks and weeks and weeks of me coming home from school waiting for it to happen. And the day it happened, the tension in the house, you could feel it, man. It was thick. And I came home and my dad said, go to your room. Now, my dad was my hero. He had these big forearms and rough hands. He was a mason, had his own masonry business.
Okay.
And real hard worker. And if you know anything about construction and Italian guys, they don't carry a wallet. They carry a wad of $100 bills.
Yeah.
And it had a rubber band around it. And I used to love it. He used to show me $100 bills all the time and work hard and you get this and all that. So he came back to the room and confronted me about the papers that he had. And he said, it says here you want to move back with your mom. I don't understand this because you got everything you need here. You go to your mom's, they don't have any money. They're poor. She's moving on with another husband. Men are coming in and out of the house. Why would you want to put yourself in that situation? You shouldn't say that to a kid.
No.
So I just remember my mom telling me to stick to my guns. She said, if I file these court papers, they're going to try to talk you out of it. So you need to stick to your guns and not leave me out hanging out to dry because this is I can't go back on this. So I just remember her saying that. So I didn't fight with my dad. I didn't discuss it with him. I just said, I made my mind up. He said, okay. So he took that wad of $100 bills out peeled one off, crumpled it up, and threw it at me. Said, here, you're going to need this then when you're living with your mother on the streets one day.
Jesus.
And that's when the fire was lit. That's in the book. There's more detail to the story. You'll see what I dealt with. But that lit a fire in me, man. And I'm just like, there's no way I'm going to need that money. I'll show you, kind of thing. So all my whole life, I started really trying to be the best I could at everything. I didn't realize that I could achieve anything I want and have it all. Everybody can have it all, by the way. We just got to really see it and believe it and understand that having it all is not greedy. Having it all is abundance. Having it all allows you to help other people, take care of your family, your kids. When you don't have it all, you're constantly worried about having enough to just get by. And so I didn't have that in me. I just had drive in me. I had the ability to really like try to show him, kind of thing. But recently, in the past 2 years, I really realized what I was doing, and that's the rocket fuel law. I was turning everything that came my way that would slow me down. I was turning it into rocket fuel for my future. But I also came to find out that we can have it all, and we really are unstoppable to live in the life of our dreams.
I hear you, man. It's such a powerful story. I can't wait to read the book, honestly. I can't wait to read the book. Read the book, listen to the audiobook. Is the audiobook out yet, or? Nah,
I got to read it. I got to get on that. You know, I just wanted to get the hard copy out. I believe everybody, I know some people like to listen. I know some people like to, you know, put it in the podcast kind of format or something, but I will do that. But I'm really, to me, it's important. The money's not the issue for me. Like I want to get this hard copy in people's hands so they have it on their desk, sitting on their coffee table next to their bed. Like I want people to see that. I'm proud of that thing, man. And so to me, it's more important to promote the idea of rocket fuel rather than just the concepts in the book, which are important as well. So I'm going to get to that. That's going to be coming out next. And you know, to me, it's also another way to market and extend the launch of this whole thing. Exactly.
And then when the world opens up fully, the speaking gigs, you know what I mean, and things like that. Now, you talked about the 10X stage. Is that a goal? Have you been on the 10X stage? Is that going to end up happening down the road?
Yeah. So I was there 2 years ago in Miami, and I saw Pete Vargas, and I said, I can stand up on that stage. I can do that. Mm-hmm. And so Vegas, I didn't. And then this past year, there's 2,000 people in attendance, 15,000 virtual. And I did get to come up for 5 minutes and share a little bit of my story. That's just a precursor, though. So I did get to get up there and stand on the stage, and you know. But at some point, I will be a main gig. You know, I'm not just counting on one stage, man. You know, I don't count one of anything, but I'll be out there all over the place for sure.
Yeah, definitely. World tour. Hopefully, when the world opens up, see you on this side of the pond in Canada. You know, Toronto area and things like that. You know, that'd be nice. That would be definitely nice.
My coach lives in Toronto.
Who's your coach?
Richie Dolan.
Okay.
Hey, Richie Dolan.
I got to check him out.
Yeah. He works with the Lakers and the Heat and LeBron, and yeah, he's a good dude, man. He's a good friend of mine now too.
Wow, I did not know that. Oh, that's amazing. So, happiness, the importance of it. How do we fulfill happiness in our life, my man?
Decide, man. It's just a decision. Like right now, I could be happy or I could be sad. I could be upset. I mean, I could be whatever. I could be bored. Mm-hmm. Decide. I choose happiness. Say to yourself, I choose happiness. Smile real big and roll. And even if you don't feel like it, you do it enough, you start getting used to it. Because here's the thing, like if you get to a destination, we all want to get to a destination. Don't get me wrong. And you can experience fulfillment. But happiness to me is a decision and a choice. And to me, more can come from being happy than the other feelings. So I choose to be happy, enjoy. And I actually write it down and remind myself every single day with my goals. Like I do things to be happy every day. Reminding myself, like, you know, here, I wrote it down right here. I'll show you. It says, I have fun no matter what. Stop being so serious and you'll have less serious situations. Like I write little things like that, you know. Mm-hmm. So
that sounds like you're about to do a words of affirmation book coming soon, possibly to extend to the C-Roc brand, my man.
Yeah, I do talk about intentions and affirmations in a chapter there, so I'm not going to really probably go back into that again. But no, definitely, I do practice that myself.
No, definitely. What is one thing before we get out of this conversation space? You know, this has been a wild ride, and I feel like when it's all said and done, I read that book, I'm going to reach out to you again because I feel like I have some questions about that book also too to dig some deeper into. But what's one thing you're looking to complete for the rest of 2021?
Well, I'm in the tech space now. And in the tech space, we have a product that's getting ready to launch called Blueprinted. And that's BLOO printed. And basically, it's either supplement or replacement of digital video courses. Because I think digital video training courses are inefficient. I think the people that taking them need help. They need better help than just a video telling them some content. People lose interest quick. They don't finish the courses 83% of the time. And so that means the success rate is less than 20%, which is a problem. Good marketers are making money with the courses, millions, without concern for the success of their students and consultees. So what I've found is if for me, I don't know about you, if somebody told me the exact steps to achieve something, like step 1, do this, step 2, do this. When you get to step 2, if you run into this situation, do this. If you run into that situation, do that. And in algorithmic format, in a project management based system, I could achieve anything. And also, so we provided the software where somebody could build their blueprint to their success in all different verticals and sell it. We create a marketplace and we sell blueprints. And people can go in there and buy it. They can have coaching relationships. They can develop their coaching programs, consulting programs, build community, engage with their followers and clients. And it's an industry disruptor. So I'm looking forward to getting that out. And one other thing is the young entrepreneur movement that we're working on, which is to get 1 million children in the next 12 months through this curriculum to how to come up with a big tech idea and then learn about tech entrepreneurship. And we're going to co-found companies with kids when they come up with ideas.
I love that.
Yeah, man, it's fun, man. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I just think that over the next year, man, we're going to be in a totally different environment, working with a lot younger people than I'm working with now.
I see that, man. I see that. And I think the kids need it. The kids need that mentorship. They need those positive role models in the life, especially like yourself, like myself and things like that. And really build in this community, because I feel like the young generation, they're so focused on TikTok. They're so focused on just the mindless things that are not giving them that learning path to life. Consumers.
Yeah. You know, there's creators on TikTok. Don't get me wrong. There's some really creative people on there, but most kids are scrolling and just wasting time on it. Not just kids, adults are too.
Yeah.
You know, so there's nothing wrong with consuming a little bit, but make sure that you have an exit strategy. You get on TikTok 5 minutes, get off. You know what I mean?
It's so true. You know, it's so funny. Before we get out of here, I know one of my coworkers, I didn't even know this with Instagram. You can actually set parameters of the time that you're going to be on Instagram. And if you over exceed that time, it's like, bye-bye, you can't log into the application, you know? Yeah. So I feel like that's good for, that's good for like time management and things like that and whatnot. Mike.
Yeah. Or people can start taking control and responsibility of their life.
True. But that's what the rocket fuel is about, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Mike, it's been a wild ride, and I appreciate your time coming on this podcast.
Thank you, Roy.
Before we get out of here, though, I always say this is plug your social media, plug the book. Where can everybody check you out and see all the cool things you got coming up, my man?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram. Of course, you mentioned that already. Mikey C-Roc. And then, of course, MikeCroc.com. That's no K on the C-Roc. So Mike, CROC.com.
And then Rocket Fuel is sold in every single store?
Amazon, or Mike C-Roc. You can get it on my website, MikeCroc.com/book.
All right. Okay, my man. We're going to definitely do this again. I got to open up that book and have some questions about that, you know?
Let's go.
All right, my man. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, man.
My man.